Hi everyone, welcome back. I am here with my special guest for the day, Tiff O'Connell. And Tiff, if you want to just do a quick introduction of yourself and the clients that you help, and then we can get into some questions.
All right, happy to. Ashley, thanks so much for having me. So my name is Tiff O'Connell. I'm the CEO and lead attorney for O'Connell Law, which is an estate planning, elder law, and estate administration law practice located in Massachusetts, and we also serve clients in New Hampshire and Vermont as well. So we have a lot of clients who are going through that transition phase of either getting ready for retirement or in retirement, and they're looking at what's appropriate for them now and going into the future.
Wonderful, wonderful. I know you have a lot of services that you offer and too much for us to cover in its entirety today, but I want to focus on the process of people going through that transition of selling property, either in advance, like preparing for needing some assistance, or for whatever reason. What advice would you give to families in that position?
Yeah, so we see this a lot. In fact, I've seen it in my own family. So I think it's just kind of the human condition that at some point it makes sense to, I call it right sizing,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes you might actually be going into a bigger space. Oftentimes not, but sometimes you do. And one of the things that we encounter way too often is that people wait too long to think about it. And so the idea being that it's not until something happens, some sort of health event, or something is triggered for them where they now think about it. If I could wind the clock back for a lot of clients, I'd say start thinking about it many years before. So that way you can actually get ready for when you do want to move versus when you need to move.
Yeah, most of the guests that I interview for this channel say the exact same thing. And then when I talk to clients who are thinking about it, there's a lot of fear and there's a lot of not only where will I go, what do I do with all this stuff, and how am I going to think about living somewhere else after I've been in this one space for decades? What do you typically advise your clients?
Yeah, so for that, what we really encourage is leverage professionals who work in this space. And Ashley, it could be someone like you. It could be their attorney who's helping them. It could be their financial advisor who's helping them. It can be all different financial folks who are just very accustomed to what happens when someone needs to move or wants to move. So I'd say leverage professionals for this, get their take on things. That way you can also, and take advantage too. I know that, Ashley, I think you do this. I think you probably offer a lot of educational webinars and materials to help folks understand all the different options out there. It could be moving into another independent home in a community, in just a regular neighborhood, or it could be a senior living community. It might be assisted living if someone does need help at that stage. There's all different types of places that someone could transition to. And I guess one of the things I would say is the more proactive you are, and I'm sure, Ashley, you've had a lot of people say this, but the more proactive you are, the more options you have. And so by being proactive, you can know what your options are, and then you can act on them. Um, Ashley, there was something else that you said that I just want to touch on. And it's not uncommon, especially in this area of the country, being in the Northeast, where we tend to move in and stay a long time, right? And we tend to accumulate stuff. And one of the things I hear a lot from clients is that it's like, oh my gosh, it's just too burdensome. Even the thought of moving with all this stuff, what do I do? And again, this is where you can leverage professional help. There are actually folks out there who specialize in helping you be able to get rid of the stuff you don't want, whether it is donating it or selling it or just whatever's needed, and they can help you move. So you don't have to go it alone.
Yeah, that's a great point. We've actually had some of those people on the channel here, and I've interviewed them, and that's what they do for a living. That's their specialty. So it is a little scary. It's the unknown. It's something totally different. And to your point, the sooner people start that process, the less stressful it is, and the more options. That's a really good point.
Right. And Ashley, again, I'm sure that you've talked about this and other things that you've done, but by doing this proactively, someone like you could come in and say, okay, if you did X, Y, Z, you're adding value to the house to actually help you get a better sale price when the house sells. I think most people, when they sell a home, would like to get the best deal they can.
Yeah.
So it just, again, gives you more options, gives you more potential.
That's true. And on the flip side of that is people don't want to waste time or money doing things that won't get them a return. I see
Right.
that sometimes too, where they just try to do it on their own and they don't have any guidance or the right guidance. And then they overspend somewhere and don't get that money back. And then that's a whole other level of frustration.
Right. And potentially financial stress.
Right.
Right? Depending on what someone's financial situation is, that can then be less money available for whatever they want to do in their next phase.
Yeah. There's a phrase that comes to mind talking about all this, and it's life by design and not by default. And I see a lot of people living life just by default because this is how it's always been, and we're just gonna wait and then end up in a reactive position where there's not as many options versus being more proactive and choosing how do we really want to live? And maybe that's even the next 20, 30 years. I mean, it could be a long time.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I love that. Doing it by design and not by default. One of the things that we hear a lot is that, yes, I mean, people wait. And one of the things that we hear a lot is, oh, well, it's never going to happen to me where I need to move.
Yeah.
If I could put even $1 for every person that has told me that, I probably could be close to retirement at this point. So it just really, you don't know what's going to happen. The other thing that actually I'll mention is that sometimes people are like, oh, I don't want to transition into one of these more structured communities until I have to. And I respect that. I get that. But one of the things that we see is the most successful transitions is when someone does it before they actually need that level of care.
Mhm.
It helps them settle in. It helps them be able to really kind of figure out what they like to do. And they have a much smoother and a much happier time for where they end up living.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I tour some of these communities locally. I was at Wingate last week in Needham, and I've been there a couple times before, but every time I'm in there, it just feels like a hotel. And I asked Nancy, I said, what's the minimum age to move in here? Because I would like to move in. And she said 55. So I have a little bit of time before I qualify. But I can't wait to live in a place like that and just be surrounded by new friends and have somebody else do all my meals and take care of everything for me. Like, that sounds awesome.
Right. And so yeah, and maybe it's not 55, but maybe it's sooner than where someone says when I turn 90, right? That might be on the later side of trying to do something. But yeah, I'd say the more proactive you are, the more options you know about, and go around, check out these places. These places are happy to have you visit.
Oh, yeah.
Go check them out. Now, something that I will say, and I'm sure Ashley, you've had aging life care specialists also say this, is that if you find somewhere that you love, you want to make sure that before you're ready to transition to there, that is the same thing because they could have had a management change, something could have happened, you don't know. So trust but verify. So the fact that something's great now you want to make sure it's still great when you do want to make the transition, but at least you know the type of thing you're looking for.
Yeah, that's a great point because sometimes the wait lists are very long and it could be several years between the initial visit and actually moving in. So very good point. Thank you. I don't think anyone said that on here before.
Well,
So
there we go. So I'm the first one to mention that.
it's a great point. It's a great point. So what are some of the services that you offer and how do you help people in your practice?
So we do anything from regular just helping an 18-plus-year-old get a power of attorney and a healthcare proxy in place. Because guess what, parents? Once your child reaches age 18, they know you no longer have legal authority over them, to our more common client who is definitely much older than 18. That being the case, we usually, our clients that we're helping are usually working professionals who want to make sure that they're going to be okay, that their kids are going to be okay. And they oftentimes have a parent still living or a relative that's very close to them that's older still living. And we're helping that generation with their needs as well. So we're kind of a multi-generational firm that really helps folks all along the spectrum.
That sounds great. What are some of the most common services that people can hire you for?
So I'd say the most common that we see are folks coming in for either getting an estate plan in place or updating their estate plan. That oftentimes includes making sure that they have a will, power of attorney, healthcare proxy. Most of our clients are dealing with some sort of trust.
Mm.
That's a whole separate topic, Ashley, that we can do that just kind of talks on these legal documents. But one of the things that we also specialize in is as folks are really transitioning into retirement and beyond, it's not just those legal documents, but it's really helping them design out a actual life care plan. We're not medical folks, we're not social workers, so we can refer folks for those things, but we can really help someone talk about, based on what their financial picture is, what are the options out there and what would happen if they did need more care, and really help them create a real roadmap so that way if things start to happen or when things start to happen, that they can actually be on top of things and not just be spiraling in chaos.
That's so important. That really is. Because I mean, for most of us, something is going to happen. Our bodies are not meant to live forever and be healthy forever, unfortunately. So it's better to have that plan in place. And yeah, I do think it would be good to do a separate um, chat about avoiding taxes because that's a big concern for people, especially if you have,
Right.
hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions in equity. What happens to that? How do you avoid probate and all of that piece of it? Because that can be something that the individual might not be as concerned about. It's not forefront, but that's something the kids are going to have to deal with.
Yep, exactly. And Ashley, do you mind if I make a plug?
No, not at all. Please do.
I wrote a book, oh gosh, it's now been over 5 years ago, that talks about all the different topics, Ashley, that you're mentioning. And
Awesome.
so it can be a good introduction for folks if they're just starting to kind of think about and try to just wanting to not do it yourself, but just have an understanding of how this stuff works. And basically, all someone has to do is go to our law firm website, and I think at the bottom of the website, it has a link to that book that people can get. I've been told over the years that it's just been helpful for folks just to get that basic understanding.
Yeah, that's amazing. Oh, what a great resource. All right, everyone go get a copy of that book. Very important. Awesome. I think that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you so much for having me here. I love talking about what we do, and if I can help someone have a smooth transition, that just brings me happiness. So I'm happy to do this.
Yeah, same here. Me too. I'm always happy to come out and meet with homeowners at any stage give advice, and put a plan in place. We call them strategy sessions for a reason, to come in and create a strategy, whether that's getting the house on the market in the next couple months or the next few years or even further down the road. So thank you so much. And yeah, everyone reach out. Go buy that book.